Alright, today we're going to talk a little bit about why winners find ways to win and losers find excuses. Let us begin. I'm going to give you guys some examples today, but have you ever noticed how some people in your community, it's like no matter what they touch, it seems like it turns to gold? I have the same thing around here. I've had people say that about me, and I say that about other people. I'm like, God, no matter what they get into, it seems like they succeed. And you think to yourself, man, that's got to be the luckiest guy on earth. The fact of the matter is not that his luck has anything to do with it. You know, most of these guys have actually put in their time and their due diligence, and that's how they got to be where they're at today. So I'll give you an example of one guy that who's kind of a, well, I call him a big deal or a big wheel in my town, where he owns like, I don't know, 25, 35 gas stations, something like that, right? Well, I asked him one day, I'm like, tell me your story. Tell me what's going on. This guy actually hired us to landscape his place. And so he built a new house, and he brought us in, and I was like, look, dude, tell me how you did this. Tell me how you got to where you're at. And he says to me, he says, George, I'll tell you what. He said, I have been broke so many times and on the verge of bankruptcy so many times over the years. He's like, I have started with nothing. Seemed like I was climbing. All of a sudden, something bad happened. I came down. He's like, this has been a roller coaster for years and years and years. And now he built it to the point where, like I say, he has all these gas stations now, and the guy's making money hand over fist. Okay, well, it took those years of him sacrificing and taking the blows that come along all day, every day. There's always something new. There's always, something going to happen. Someone's going to sue you, or all of a sudden, there's new taxes that come into effect that hurt your business, or government regulations, or whatever. It seems like there's always just something that keeps happening, right? And the takeaway from listening to him was that life's not always going to be peaches and cream. There's always going to be these dips and up and downs that go on in life, and it's just how you got to roll with them. I forget who said it. Somebody else said it too. I think it was Sylvester Stallone, if I'm not mistaken. But something about it wasn't how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you keep getting back up. And there's a lot of truth with that. I could tell you story after story, and I'm gonna just give you a couple examples right now. So let's talk a little bit about one of the first projects I ever did. First businesses I ever got into was making hunting videos. So my brother and I were pretty good at deer hunting, and we loved it. It was the sport we loved the most, more than anything, and bow hunting especially. So we decided, hey, why don't we make some hunting videos, right? So we'd saved up some money, and we took it and we bought a really nice camera and editing equipment and whatnot, and had to learn all of that. And it took years to get it somewhat mastered, right? And we really didn't know what we were getting into, but we were doing the best we could, okay? And back in the day, things were going really, really well for us. It seemed like we were starting to gain traction. We were starting to sell videos that we had made, and we made 3 videos. And we really thought we were gaining traction. Well, there was a company called Gander Mountain that ordered $18,000 worth of videos from us. I can remember that we had to go to the bank and borrow 18 grand to pay to have all those videos done by someone to have them mass produced, right? And because it was a big order. This order came in right before Christmas. And what happened was that company turned around, ordered from all kinds of people, every vendor that they had, ordered a ton of product. They rented warehouses all over the United States, wherever they were at. They wanted warehouse space. They went and rented that, filled them with it, and then filed bankruptcy. So, needless to say, we didn't get any money out of those guys, and that crippled us. That pretty much wiped us out. It was kind of the final straw. There were other things too. There were issues that came up, but that was just one example of a blow that knocked you right back down. You saved your money, you got into something, a huge order came in, you thought you were finally starting to make it, boom, right down to rock bottom. Okay, that's just one example. Now let me give you another one. Let's look at the Florida business. So we saved up money. We bought a landscape company out in Florida. And it was probably 75% lawn care, 25% install. And I was like, okay, well, let's take this thing and run with it. So first year we came in, we really didn't make any money. We kind of broke even because we did have to buy the business and such, and we stuck some money into it. So therefore, didn't make much money. Second year we started to make money. Third year we made good money, and we had that for like 7 years, right? Towards the end, we had built it up. We had built it up, added many trucks to it, a lot of people, a lot of employees. Towards the end, it just got to be so much for us. I mean, we are 1,600 miles away. And what I noticed was happening was I was on a plane headed to Florida 6-8 times a summer to deal with new managers to put them in place, because that manager, we caught him on drugs, or, where he got a drunk driving while driving our vehicles. I mean, there was all kinds of things that were happening. A lot of things that were out of my control. But here again, we fought with that. Okay, so we started down at the bottom with nothing. We came up to the top. We had a lot of trucks, had a lot of employees, and then it started to come down because we just couldn't keep quality employees in the trucks. No matter what we tried to do, the cat's away, the mice will play type of thing. And no matter what you tried to do, they would find a way to get around it. You could put GPSs in the trucks. They would pull up to a property, sit on that property, smoke a couple cigarettes, and then just leave, because they knew they were being timed. They knew that that tracker was on the truck, which would tell us how long they were there, and they wouldn't even set foot out of the truck. So they cost us a lot of clients. I would come back down in the winter, and I would work hard, and I'd build up that client list, only to have those guys, when I came back to Wisconsin, they would just lose one after another, either because of shitty work, or just not doing any work, or coming late, or just coming whenever they felt like it. So that still came down on me. That still comes back to me. It starts and ends with me. So what I realized was, if I got to keep making these trips back to Florida all the time, that's eating away at my bottom line. That's when I should be back here making my money here, but instead I'm traveling back there all the time, and all I do is fix it. When I come back, they destroy it. So once I realized that things weren't getting any better, no matter what we tried to do, it's like, look, we tried all kinds of things to make it work, right? I just couldn't make it work. So at some point, I had to say, look, let's pull the plug on this. Let's sell the business while we can still make some money, and let's get out of it and let's try something else. I'm very glad I did that. That was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. It was a very good learning experience for me. It was tough to do. It was tough to leave that, because that was going to be part of our retirement. And, it's a devastating thing that happens sometimes. But, I remember a $500,000 contract that we had, that when I went to sell my business even, it was like 2 or 3 days before I went to sell the business, my guys managed to lose that contract. And so, of course, the value of my business went way down. But at that point, it didn't matter, because it was time to get out. If you can't find good employees and they're always stealing from you, stealing your shit, and they're on drugs and drinking, and, it's like, look, I basically got tired of being a glorified babysitter, and it was very difficult to find quality people down there. So I had to get out of it. But that's just me. But another reason for that is, look, my business suffered here. Every time I had to leave from here and go down there, my business would suffer here. So at some point, you've got to wake up and say, look, it's time to pull the plug on things. Yeah, they can make you money and do really good, and all of a sudden they crash. And you can ride that, just kind of like the gas station dude I was telling you about. But after a while, I just got tired of it. I'm like, look, I'm losing money up here because I'm down there, and I can't let that happen. And if I can't find good quality people, I'm out. So that's the end of that one. All right, lawn care business here. So when I started out, everybody said there's no money to be made in it. I proved them all wrong. I went in there, not me per se, my entire family, because we all worked at this. We all were family members. We worked as a family. We built that business, from scratch. So as we did that, we had the same things. We had the hurdles, all the way through it. And I'm glad that we stuck with it, and we still have it today. And we still have, just a boatload of clients and whatnot that we take care of. And from there, we went on into our landscape business. So there's another thing. You start out, and the other thing you guys will realize when you run into these things, and I keep talking about winners find ways to win, and losers find excuses why they can't. Okay? Now, and that may sound like the Florida thing. I may be contradicting myself at some point there, because finally I'm just like, look, I can't find a way to win this thing. I just keep trying. At some point, yeah, you got to get out. But there's so many other things that I did since then, and even before that, that we've done really well at. And I had to kind of reel things back and say, hey, all right, if that business is costing us money, it's time to get out. It's time to move on to something else. And you got to be smart enough to make that decision, right? So I remember getting into lawn care. I remember my competition following me around. Our head competitor followed me around in the commercial jobs that I got. Once I started gaining traction on him and I got his attention, he would go right to him, right behind me, knock on their doors, and literally came out and said, look, I don't care what George is charging you, but I'll beat the price. Just tell me what it is. That's how bad they wanted me out of the market, right? So you talk about getting knocked down, and having to keep getting back up. This stuff was happening to me all the time, right? All the time. I would have people come in and undercut me all day long and take my business. And then I finally realized those weren't the customers I wanted anyway, right? If they're going to leave me, I had one customer, I'll never forget this. He was actually a snow plowing customer. And I had him for like 10 years, I think. And he dropped me because some guy came in to plow for $5 less. $5. And I would have beers with this guy. He was a sheriff's deputy. I would have beers with this guy when he came to town. You know, we became friends. And he dropped me over that. And I was devastated. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? How? Why? You know, well, $5 was $5. I'm like, you didn't even call me and ask if I would match it or anything, which would have been a slap in the face anyway. But regardless, what I realized over the years is them are the customers I don't want anyway. The customers I want are the people that will stay with you. They are the people that will pay your price so that you don't have to come down and be a lowballer to compete with them. All right. Now I learned that also with the landscaping end of things. Okay. So like, for example, when I started landscaping, kind of the same thing. Everybody that were landscapers in my area, of course they don't like you. They don't like anyone new coming in because, you know, they're going to take some of their business from them, right? So I was constantly being badmouthed in town. I was constantly, you know, people just saying, oh, they do a terrible job. They're this, they're that, you know. These are just people that are pissed because you're there. And what I had to learn is to get some thick skin, all right? And you just let that just wash off you like water off a duck's back. You just let it go, and it actually drives me harder. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire for me. When people come at me with shit like that, my instinct is to fight back. And it actually ignites that fire so much in me that it makes it worse on them, okay? I'll give you another example. Just happen to think of this one. So when I got into the pest control business, one of the things that came up was that I was spraying for mosquitoes and ticks, right? Well, at one time, they were on one license. It covered it. Turns out, now, suddenly I have to have two. Well, you know who pointed that out to me? Some guy from the state. And you know how he found out about that? Because some guy turned me in because I was advertising for ticks, but I wasn't licensed for ticks. So, and he knew that. So he immediately turned me in, right? So the constant hammering, which I'll get into that in a minute on the pest control side of things. But anyway, on the landscape end, same thing. We didn't come in with people greeting us with a smile. We came in having to fight and claw our way to get the work. And one of the biggest things I realized in the landscaping end of it, I'm in a small town, right? Small town, 8,000 people. What I realized is I'm surrounded by lakes, okay? I didn't do a lot of work on the lakes before. I did a lot of commercial work, things like that. I started to realize, wait a second, think out of the box. Why am I depending on these guys here? And here we're tripping over each other. Here we're constantly having a price war between us. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it on the lakes. I started marketing up on the lakes and I never looked back. Now in my small town here, I hardly do any work here because this small town does not have a lot of money, so they don't want to pay me the prices that I'm demanding. Okay? What I had to learn was go to where the money is. If the money's not here and it's not all around me, like I live in the middle of Chicago or something, I have to go outside to find the money. I had to find a way to make that happen, right? Had to change the way I was thinking. I had to market differently. I didn't market to this little town of Antigo anymore. What I did is I marketed outside of Antigo. I marketed to the lakes, and all of a sudden I filled my calendar with lake people that have no problem paying me my price. Okay? That's how that works. Retail shops, kind of the same thing. So when we started our vape shops, It was so new. People really didn't worry too much about it. I think our biggest thing is like the government regulation that comes in. But there's always a battle in every business. I don't care what it is. So now you have, for example, we piss off big tobacco because there's tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of people that are quitting smoking because of vaping, okay? And it's fantastic, and that's why I got into it. And it helped me quit smoking. I was a 2-pack a day smoker for 35 years. Someone introduced me to e-cigarettes. I had tried everything else, nothing worked. Tried e-cigarettes, sure enough, it worked. And I was off, and I haven't had a cigarette now in like 5 or 6 years, you know, which you can tell because that's the way I'm able to ramble on like I am. Before I could never do that. So it made a huge difference in my life, okay? And now we have 2 vape shops, and we help, you know, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of people get off cigarettes because of it. So it's a big thing. But what happened was big tobacco got pissed, and they started coming up with all their excuses. You know, I could get into this forever and ever on, and I'll just name one big one right off the bat. They're just like, oh, it's bad for you. So the vaping industry got a little pissed off at that because they have no proof, they've done no studies, no nothing. So we hired lawyers to come back and say, prove it or shut up. That's what they did. They shut up. They came up with something else. Oh, it's the teenagers are getting it. Yep. You know what? They are getting it. Okay? And back in my day, I had a pack of cigarettes in one pocket and I had a can of chew in the other pocket. So what if they have vaping devices today? Okay? It's still better than the cigarettes. All right? But once again, they turned it to that. Then there's 6 kids that died somewhere in the country because of vaping. It wasn't vaping that they died from. They had THC, pot, that they got from somebody in the liquid form or a wax or something, and they put it in a vaping device. They inhaled it. It killed them. It was bad weed to begin with. But regardless, all the media, the fake media today, spins it however they want. I got to get off that subject. I would be on this all frickin' day. But it's all one lie after another. And the bottom line is follow the money, you guys. Big Tobacco's losing all the money to e-cigarettes, so of course they're going to do whatever they can to stop them. All right, that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the pest control business. I have had things come up in there. So the mosquito police thing, we sell franchises. But I tell you, in my town, one thing that I realized early on was people did not like me being in this business. No different than the lawn care business, no different than the landscaping business, no different than the vape business. It doesn't matter what you get into. It seems like there's always hurdles in front of you. No job is just going to go completely smooth. Just isn't going to happen, right? So I can remember putting up our signs in different locations, and you know, we were into it with highway commissions, with the state of Wisconsin, with just the local people stealing our signs. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that go on that are childish and immature. But you will hit resistance for a little while in any business, and then eventually that stuff kind of tends to go to the wayside. We focus more on ways to beat our competition. Every time they aggravate me, all that does is throw fuel on the fire, like I told you. So I just go after them even harder. And that's why we're successful, because we don't take a back seat. Sure, we keep getting knocked down. You go up, you down, up and down. But you just keep going on that track until eventually you're way up here and they're still down here because they're childish and petty, right? All right, YouTube channel. There's something else. Another prime example. So when I started the channel, it was immediately to help lawn care guys get better in their businesses. What really got me, what started this whole thing is up here, you're a lawn care guy, you go to mow someone's property, they treated you good. They would come out with a bottle of water, come out and give you a hug. They were happy to see you. They were good people, and they still are to this day. I went down to Florida, and this is what got me started with my lawn care channel was that, or the YouTube channel, those people down there treated you like you were scum. Like you're the scum of the earth, you're worthless. You're below a dog down there. You know, they have manicurists come to their yards and take care of their dogs and all this other crap. They have dry cleaners come to their house. They have everything taken care of. Maids come and do their cleaning. They have all this shit down there. You are like that high. You're not even that high. You're less than that. So that pissed me off so bad. I started the YouTube channel. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to teach guys how to get better at their job, how to make more money at their job, how to be successful. And that's what I've done over these years, I think. I believe I've helped a lot of you. If I have, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know. I always love hearing that. You know, it just, again, that's like fuel to my fire. Every time I hear it, it lets me know that I'm doing something right for you guys. All right. Remember this. The one takeaway out of this whole video is winners find ways to win. Losers find excuses and reasons not to. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that little bell notification button, and let me know if this has helped you at all.